I believe that these 4 decks are the decks that you are going to have to look out for and play in Ranked Season 11 of Pokemon Pocket. What up peeps, Nuggie here, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be discussing what decks you should be bringing into the Ranked Season 11 here, which is going to start in a couple of days time. You can see the date above me. It is going to signify from March the 11th. It goes for about 2 weeks, I believe, just before the next set comes in, which I think is going to be the main set on March 26th. Now, the decks you see here, it's kind of a nice contrast. You're going to see 2 decks of old with a variation of each of them. And what is the biggest surprise of this season that a lot of people, I guess, didn't expect in some ways, because they didn't expect much that there would be a meta shift, is the introduction of Bellibolt EX and Baxcalibur. We're going to break it down a little bit in the later video, but I just wanted to show you that we're going to be giving you 2 variants of each of these decks and whatnot. We're just going to probably do an old and a new, so for those people who are new into the game or whatnot, you can look at the ones that have always been consistent to this and everything. But there is a particular deck that isn't going to be seen much, which is going to be the Suicune Greninja. Just because of units like Bellibolt and even Baxcalibur, Suicune Greninja can't keep up once as it used to, which is kind of refreshing. You know, what's been around in the past, I'd like to say 6 months or whatever it is now just a blip on the radar. Like, it's still there, but it's the blip now. And so with these 4, let's break it down and show you what decks you're going to be seeing a lot, and maybe you can try this out yourself and tell me how you go. Okay, folks, let's start off with the most common one that you've seen in the past few seasons of Rank and everything, which is going to be the Mega Absol. I don't think I need to explain it too much, since for those of you guys who are competitive know what it's all about, but we'll just go about the 2 variants that we are going to show you here. The first one is going to be the Hydreigon. This has been very consistent in the last few seasons, just because of how quick the Hydreigon can ramp up and everything. The Ice Pops being introduced has been an absolute game changer for this type of deck to become even more ruthless. Getting rid of the Indeedee and adding this in just allows you to not worry about your Indeedee as much, and this basically does the healing for you, in addition to the fact that Ice Pop is just absolutely, and I'm gonna have to say it, it's broken. It's just a disgusting card. For me, it's a potion, but for anyone else, opponent wise, they just flip 4 or 5 heads in a row and the Ice Pop still stays, and then I just sit there and cry. But for those of you guys who won't be crying, this is just going to be a really strong deck for you guys to start off right off the gate, and it does really well and is quite consistent. Now, the other variant of that has in a way made a bit more of a comeback is going to be the Greninja and Darkrai variant of the Mega Absol deck. Now, there's a few little changes which has actually been very instrumental in the reason why it's come back, and it's due to decks like Baxcalibur and Bellibolt and whatnot that you're going to apply more of a poking station here, with the Greninja doing its Water Shuriken and the Darkrai pinging. But what's more important is that Shingling is reminding other decks out there why this card is very useful, since Baxcalibur requires like you know, a quick charge of candy and whatnot to be able to evolve. Same thing with opponents mirroring Greninja as well. Now we're adding in the Rocky Helmet, of course, for Chingling or whichever active you have, to just do that little bit more chip damage. But the key here is going to be this inflatable boat. Now this has been added in recently instead, just to help one, you know, you can allow your Froakie to retreat for free if you start it in the starting hand. At the same time, if you do evolve into Greninja, you can use Greninja as sort of a tanking system in the front, and then you still have that energy to be able to put on your Mega Absol or Darkrai to continue its assault. Now, a lot of people ask why not X speed and everything, and the reason for that is just because if you are versing a mirror or an opponent that uses Chingling as well, Chingling is going to lock your item cards, and because X speed is an item, it will not be able to be used. So using inflatable boat as a tool instead to be able to bypass the mirroring Chingling or whatnot will allow you to keep your tempo in place. So this is definitely making the rounds. I can see this being played in ranked, and you guys should definitely try it out and see how you go. But enough with the Mega Absol, let's go over to the other old current deck that's going to be seen a lot in ranked. Okay, folks, this is going to be the second half of the pre-existing B2A sets that is currently going to be valid in the ranking system when it comes out. And it's going to be Altaria. Now, there are two variants that I'll show you, which you might see a lot of. The first one here, maybe not as much, but it does well in certain tournaments, is going to be the Gorgeist. And the reason why the Gorgeist is relatively strong is that it does have the ability to get rid of basics quickly. It's got a hefty health pool, and if you're versing like Ori or Zeraora, this thing can tank and do damage while you're building up the bench. There's nothing like different or any new cards from B2A, so you can see that this you can use in the pre-existing state and that'll still be fine in the current ranked, while the other Ori is almost like pretty much the same, but again, this is going to use the Greninja variant here. Nothing new again that I can see that you need to have in the current set here to put in. This deck has made it's just there for consistency wise and everything, just because it's been able to pull up with the Cyrus and everything a lot. The training area for the 150 damage from the 140 damage from Altaria is extremely useful, and it's still there. Tournament scene, stats wise, it's pretty well rounded, and you shouldn't have a problem using any of these decks in the current or the future rank that's going to come out around the corner. Now, we will go ahead and mention that the next two decks are going to be pretty cool because they're, I guess, even before ranked begins, it is relatively new, and you're going to see in a lot of ways why these two new decks that are going to be shown is the reason for the disappearance of Suicune Greninja. Okay, it's time for the new decks that we get to explain that what is the reason why decks like Suicune Greninja is not as prevalent in this current meta, and we're going to show it with the first one, which is going to be one of the standout ones actually, is going to be Bellibolt. Now, this is a deck that is not new in a lot of things, but because of this card makes it new. Now, this is just your regular Magnezone deck, right, with the Ori Choreo, which is very strong against almost like a lot of decks out there except for the Hydreigon. But what we have different here is this Bellibolt. So for those of you guys that don't know, as I bring this up in all its full art glory, is that Bellibolt, you can read by the description there, if you have 4 or more electric energy on your side of the bench essentially, then this, instead of 70 damage, will do 140. Now on top of that, Bellibolt's HP is 160, which is quite large for a stage 1 Pokemon, and overall you match it up with something like Magnezone here, Magneton I should say, because that's going to be the one that's going to be charging to give you those stacks for the Bellibolt to go in action. And it's just a really strong deck that you see a lot in tournament runs, just dominant throughout, because you can tell obviously electric Suicune Greninja is already weak against, and because this can get online pretty quickly, it just makes it that much stronger. The Poncho being added to protect your units like Magneton that is building energy, or the Tadbulb if you're planning to use that. But even without the Bellibolt, this can do relatively well just because of the Magnezone's effects. So this is one of the variants of Bellibolt that you see here, which is very consistent. The other one that I'll show you, I personally like more, but I understand that sometimes it has its shortcomings, and we'll explain a little bit about that. But it's going to be the one with Zeraora. Now, this Zeraora actually uses 2 of the Tadbulbs and the Bellibolts in play here, but the purpose of this, you're going to see that it does add with the electric generator as well. And for those of you guys that don't know what electric generator does, you just flip a coin, it's an item card, and if you roll heads, you can attach a free electric energy to someone in the bench, which is very useful, because you can see by the way this deck is lined up is that you're hoping to start with Zeraora so that it already gets that automatic charge. And if you do have Tadbulb there, you can just put energy on Tadbulb, whether with the generator or not, next turn evolve into Bellibolt, and you could already straight up rocket to 140 damage there. The shortcoming I would say earlier is just because if you don't start with Zeraora, it slows the gameplay down quite a bit, but overall this deck is quite fast. It's one of those decks that you can use in and out really quickly, GG next or whatnot, and it does perform really well. So it gives its essential purpose is to get rid of them before they can start swinging. So this deck is really potent, Ranked, and it's just really nice to see electric decks making a comeback in this meta and seeing it just decimate one of the most dominant decks out there for the longest time, which was the Suicune Gren, and now we have something new to play with. Now the last deck is one of my favorite ones just because I am a fan of dragon types, but it's not quite the dragon type, but the effect that it does is so game changing in a way that it's just changed a lot of the metas where even Hydreigon Absol has trouble going up against it. So can't wait to show you the last one. Last but not least, guys, this is the Baxcalibur deck. Now this is brand new in terms of meta wise. Essentially its effect is what Gardevoir is in the genetic Apex days, but where it can attach an energy onto the active water Pokemon. But the difference here is that Baxcalibur, for a stage 2 Pokemon, not only has 140 hit points, but it does do 90 damage, which is your Oricorio cancellation unit kind of play. So what we're going to show here is one of the more consistent decks, and then I'll show you a bit of variance, which is going to be very different with a lot of others as well. But like I said, there's variance to this. First off though, I'll show the one that has been quite consistent, and I put it in a video earlier on as well when we were in our Pocket Nations Cup. But this is the Baxcalibur deck with the Qianpao and the Suicune. Suicune there for the draws, Frigibax there just to be able to, obviously, the backs line up just to charge up your Suicune or Qianpao or even Baxcalibur itself. The boat here is quite important because if you don't start with Suicune and you get it later, you can just switch out on turn 1 or whatnot and go into the Suicune and start drawing cards, or you can start swinging with whatever Pokemon that you want to swing with as well. This is one of the only decks, I would say Guzma is almost a prerequisite, and it has been absolutely just satisfying to see Guzma being in play a lot more, just because of all the decks you've seen that uses a lot of tools, and that especially the Poncho decks out there for Qianpao to be able to swing in the bench, very important to have Guzma there. But overall this deck is extremely solid. It's just a good matchup to a lot of things. It does struggle at times against Bellibolt because of the electric weakness for Suicunes, but if it can hold its own and gets a good start, then it can come back. But overall it's great. And the other variant, if you are feeling in a way, you're feeling lucky and you're feeling kind of high rolly, I know awesome people like Sigan and stuff have brought up like a double Misty variant of this, but we're going to do this variant that we've seen in the tournaments. It uses one Palkia, doesn't use the Qianpao here, but it does use Misty as well. Now, one of the major drawbacks of Baxcalibur is that if it runs into a Chingling Altaria deck or a Chingling Absol Greninja, it struggles because it cannot ramp up, by turn 3 or whatnot if it wanted to, because Chingling's in play. Now, putting in something like Palkia, because its initial attack is 30, is very effective. And if you even want to go super high roll even more and prevent them from building up, you just high roll Misty into however many water energies you can, and then you just start swinging, and Palkia will be there as your main wall until you can get your Suicune up, your Baxcalibur up, and whatnot. So this is another variant of Baxcalibur we have seen around. There is another one as well that's floating around, which is involving Baxcalibur and the new Ninetales card. Now, I will not put that up for now until we do a little bit more testing when rank starts, but it does look promising. However, as for now, these are the current decks that I would recommend for anyone who's starting up in ranks and deciding what deck should I play. Start off with the old if you want to feel a little bit more in your element for now, and then when you get more confident and you want to see what's new out there, I would highly recommend Baxcalibur and Bellibolt. But overall, if you like everything that you see here, feel free to like, subscribe, and comment on if there's any new deck that you've seen that's made a wave in the rounds for your ranking journey as well. But until then, have best of luck in your rank journey, and I'll see you guys on the next one.